the one thing about intervention, because if we look at talking to somebody when we think they have a problem, it's a very difficult process, because obviously you have defense mechanisms that comes into play, and people will deny that they are that severe, or they will minimize the problem, or they will rationalize it and intellectualize the problem, but nobody ever comes out of their own to say, you know, I realize I have a serious problem. A lot of times it's when people start pointing it out to them that they start thinking maybe people have got a point, and then they start questioning themselves. So the intervention from families towards their loved ones is extremely important process, and it's very important for the addict to help them kickstart that process of I need recovery and I need professional help to do so. So when we look at that, we also realize that motivation for change happens on different levels. So a lot of time the family is at the action phase, where I want my child or my husband or my wife to come in immediately and they need to change their life. So I'm at action phase. The person involved is in pre-contemplation phase. They don't even think there's a problem. They're still enjoying it, having fun, you know, they don't feel that this is really impacting on them. So you always have this discrepancy between what the families want and where the addict is at, you know, or the person needing help, where they are at. So for the family to get the person into action phase, they have to do an intervention with the person. And it's very briefly, I'm going to explain intervention. It is a difficult process. It needs to be done sometimes with a professional that helps you through that process, and we can also help you to do that, to first speak to you, give you some of the skills that you need to accept and to maybe go and practice. Do the intervention. If it doesn't work, at least get the person here with you, so that with a professional you can do that process. The first step of an intervention is to make sure you have all the facts, because you cannot confront a person with emotions only. You have to confront the person from a factual point, to say, on this and this date, you didn't arrive for work again because you were intoxicated. Or on this and this date, you said you were coming to a family function and you never pitched. So you have to make sure you have factual information, and then also the important part is you must know, what do you want? Do you want this person to go for treatment? Do you want them to cut down maybe? So also you've got to look at what are your expectations of what you want them to change. What is it that you want them from them? And then the next step is to make sure that you don't do it alone. The intervention should be done with people that cares about that person, more than one person, 2 or 3 people, maybe a family member that he looks up to or she looks up to and respects, that they might listen to. And then to say that out of love and concern, this is why you're doing the intervention, to make them aware that you want to mirror their behavior to them. Because only when you mirror their behavior are they able to think maybe they have a point, you know. They only remember the good part of that party that they went to. They don't remember that they were insulting people, being rude to people, or that they were aggressive at times. The brain has got an amazing function to just cut out all that negativity, and they will think, oh, they had a great time. And then it's the family or the friends can then say, but hang on, this is really what happened, and can fill in the gaps that they might have around that time. And then from there to say the person needs to come in for some kind of program and to address the problem on that level. And that's your expectation that you would create, to say that and also I think a lot of times when they are confronted, they might be aggressive towards the person confronting them. So you've got to expect that there might be aggression, there might be a counter-attack, there might be lots of emotions coming from their side, and to keep calm and just repeat to them that you care about them, you love them, and you don't want to see them doing this to themselves. So I think it's very difficult to do, to keep your own emotions in check, and to make sure you don't get drawn in with the person's emotions, because they can be highly manipulative. They can bring out your own issues about how they think about you, And I think it's important just to make sure that you stay calm and you make sure that you know what's the purpose of that meeting. And you might have to do an intervention a couple of times. It might not work the first time, but at least you're chipping away at the denial and making them come to terms with what is the reality of their problem. And a lot of time people have asked me, what if this person is dangerous? How do I handle that? If it's a wife or husband threatening his wife. When they're intoxicated, sometimes with crack, they are highly aggressive. So the one thing is, the golden rule is never confront somebody when they're intoxicated. So you always wait for that person to be of sober mind the next morning. Never start an argument when they're intoxicated, you know. And I think that's a very important part, that you only do it when they are sober and clean of mind, where they can rationally think and logically think, where it's not the drug controlling their behavior and actions. And that is my advice to people that wants to confront somebody that they love and get them ready for treatment.